Let's dive a bit deeper on Bennedict Mathurin's early season with the Pacers. Some improvement in some areas, but not in others. A lot of people talking about it. We'll dive into that, plus the Pacers' top-rated offense as well as their tonight opponent, the Utah Jazz, all on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and SI, and today we are diving in to a big topic in Pacerland right now, Bennedict Mathurin and his play for the team. Interesting start for him, I will say so myself. I talked about him a little bit last week, but upping the assists, downing the turnovers, good on-ball defense. That's stuff that is important for his growth, but the shot's not falling. He's having trouble finding his exact spots to score within a new lineup, and the team defense is still rough. We'll contextualize all that today, talking about some other numbers with Mathurin, plus another deeper look at the Pacers' top-rated offense. Can they keep it up all season? And a short discussion of their game tonight against the Utah Jazz with a new guest. Looking forward to having you guys hear from Mueez Azfar for the first time, the house that Kami built on Twitter, if you've heard the name. Before we dive into all that today on Locked On Pacers, let's just get right to it. A new guest here, as we have a lot to talk about the 4-3 Indiana Pacers. He's Mueez Azfar. He covers the team over at 8 points, 9 seconds. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's up? How you doing, man? It's great to be here. Very excited. You see, I got a haircut for this special occasion. You know, had to look good for the podcast. You know what I mean?
Wow. That's a new thing. A haircut for a podcast.
Yes, sir.
My friends laugh at me when I shower at halftime of the Pacers games because I have to podcast after, but I can't be looking all ratty, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You got to look good for the camera.
It's a new thing for an audio thing, but here we are.
Sure,
and we got a lot to talk about, and we're starting with what I would say has been the biggest topic among the internet discourse about the Pacers recently, which is interesting. Team is playing pretty well, best offense in the league. We'll talk about that too today. But that is the play of Bennedict Mathurin. Rick Carlisle has talked quite a bit about him in his pregame press conference before they played the Spurs on Monday, again at practice on Tuesday. And when he started talking about him on practice Tuesday, it was actually a question about a different player. But then he kind of drifted off and started talking about other things about the team, and that got to Ben. And what's really kind of led to this is people have this, you know, they're kind of looking at percentages, and he hasn't shot it well. 40.6% from the field for Mathurin, 22.7% from deep.
Yeah.
That's not good. He is passing much better, 2.6 assists per game, 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, way better than last year where that was negative, right? So he is taking strides in areas that are important, but it has come some at the expense of what he was good at last year. Some of it's fit stuff. I just ranted for a while, but his change in output has led to a lot of discussion about his play. You just wrote about him. What have you kind of made of his early season play so far?
So when I did write that article on Mathurin, I was trying not to be too harsh on the guy because he's, 22 years old? Still young, second year in the league. This is only this last game against the Spurs was his 85th game in the NBA. Right. And only his 24th as a starter. So he's definitely getting into the groove of being, accustomed to the NBA lifestyle and everything. But the main thing that I am, concerned about is the minutes this guy is getting. Somehow, as a starter this year, he's averaging less minutes than he was last year. And not just 2-3 less minutes. He's averaging 6 less minutes, 28 versus 22 this year. Pretty concerning to me. And I get that Carlisle wants to play Buddy Hield a lot. I get that he has other guys on the wings. Eventually, as the season goes on, you got to give Shepherd more minutes. Nesmith is improving dramatically. You got to give him more minutes. But Mathurin, in my opinion, if this team stays put, he's going to be the second best player on this team. He's going to be the second best player and the potential leading scorer, depending on how aggressive Tyrese wants to be at times. I think you got to give him his minutes. I saw a tweet the other day saying that Mathurin averages around 20 points a game when he gets over 35 minutes, which I think is really it's a sign of how he should be getting more time, and he should be getting more shots because the guy's he's getting less than 10 shots a game so far this season. Last year he was getting 12. as a rookie coming off the bench, which we know Rick Carlisle doesn't love, giving rookies a lot of playing time. He gave him more playing time last year, and Mathurin got more shots last year, which is why I'm a bit concerned about how he fits into this offense and what exactly his future is as far as this season. I think Mathurin is a very important building piece, but I have to say we have to give him his shots because the man is not a primary playmaker. He's not a primary defender. He's not a primary anything. He's a primary scorer. That man is good at best at one thing, and that is putting the ball in the basket.
Yeah, I'm higher on Mathurin than I think most were. I did a really long show, I think it was my last episode of July this year, just about how his free throw rate was the thing that made me way higher than everybody else. Because even if he doesn't get a lot better than anything else, if you can get to the line at that level, you're going to be a good player. Yeah. Now, also, it's important for him to fit with this team. And this is what Carlisle's been talking about a lot with him the last couple of days of practices. With him and everybody, it's been about the team this year. And they have showed that, right? 38 assists 2 different times in 7 games. They never got more than 36 last year, right? So clearly there is some buy-in from this roster on move the ball. Everybody move the ball. And that's working. And I think Mathurin has taken a step forward in I can read the defense and make a good play for our team, which is really important to me for his long-term growth. There's only so much you can do if when you drive into Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, you shoot every time. You're not going to score. Yeah. He was passing against the Cavs.
And Wembanyama last night.
Right. That's a good step forward for him. But I didn't know exactly what it would look like. But the hope was, if you're the Pacers, and kind of what I thought would be his natural progression was, let's say his assists do the climb they have already, right? 1.5 per game to 2.6. And the turnovers have dipped as they are. We can even do per minute, right? His turnovers are down per minute. His assists are way up per 36 because, like you said, his minutes are lower, right? So you've clearly seen him take a step forward there. I did not expect it would come at such a large expense of his shots. And in turn, where he's kind of been able to find his spots. His free throw rate is down 28% from last season. And that's just partially how he's used. His usage rate isn't down that much, right? So it's just kind of the shot diet he's getting. How he's finishing plays, that's a lot different. And he acknowledges that. I think Carlisle and Tyrese Halliburton, I think something that Tyrese said his first preseason game, right? He had a great game. He's on his post-game presser. And we, asked him how he played. And he said, I've got to figure out how to get Ben the ball in his spots, right? And so I think there is 2 things going on at the same time. And I think his minutes will go up as these things blend more together. I think the Pacers are trying to figure out how to play their brand of team basketball with this group. They added in Bruce Brown, so they have more off-ball guards now in his spots. Everybody else is back from last year in those roles. They're also trying to develop Ben in that team offense while still trying to have him be himself as a player and not like if you can score at his level, you're not a subtractive player. That's a valuable skill. So I think they're just trying to build those things up at the same time. And there's a defensive element to this. He's been not a very good team defender this year. His on-ball defense has been solid, but his team defense has not been good. So I think once he figures out and the team figures out where his shots can come from and how he can be his best, right? I think he had 18 points opening night, right? That was the best, I think, of his season. Yeah, if they can continue to figure that out as the passing continues to grow. That was a lot of words from me. Sorry. Then I think you'll see him play more and look like a more effective player. Yeah.
I mean, like you said, this team is the exact same as last year. We kept the same guys who, Lance is gone, which Lance was just there for vibes, Shout out to Lance. But this is the exact same team as last year. We added 4 guys? We added Jase, we added Shepard, we added Obi, and we added Bruce. So there's shots to go around. And right now, actually, Mathurin is getting those less than 10 shots a game with Jase and Shepard barely playing. They've only played 2 games. They only played 3 games. They played garbage time in all of them. So as the season progresses and eventually Jase and maybe even Shepard, if he's good enough, they get more minutes and they start getting more shots because you need to get your rookies their shots. You need to get them confident. One of the main reasons why I said at the beginning of the season, Jase should be starting over Obi. When they get their minutes and they get their shots, you need to make sure that you can get Mathurin those touches. And like you said, his usage rate is about the same, you said?
Yeah, very similar, about 2% lower this year.
Yeah. So that usage rate, he needs to get more shots up. And and with the Pacers having this incredible offense that they have right now, that is without Mathurin. That is with Mathurin being more of a facilitator than a primary scorer that he was last year. Remember last year had multiple 30+ point games. He was was in the top 5 all time for rookies hitting threes, I believe. Something like that.
Some stretch of the season or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. He was dynamic with the ball. And he did not fall off, but he did go into a slump in the middle of the season, hit that rookie wall as everybody does. And right now, I think speaking of that rookie wall, he's hitting that sophomore slump at this moment in this year. We've seen that happening with Banchero. Banchero's not doing that great in Orlando.
He's not.
Yeah. So maybe this is just rolling with the punches. If he can't get those shots, if he can't score, which he was all right against San Antonio. He was 4 for 8. Didn't hit any threes. But if he can't get his shots to fall, it is good that he's passing the ball. He had some great passes last night. He only had 2 assists, but those assists were really impressive. But that defense does need to improve, because I think with the athleticism that Mathurin has and the coordination that he has with the ball especially, I'm very surprised at seeing how just not that great he's been off the ball with defense this year. I remember in the Cavs game, the first Cavs game, not the second one. The first Cavs game, he had a lot of lapses. He let Max Strus get some shots. He was on LeVert a lot of the time. LeVert had that incredible first quarter. So that defense needs to improve. And if he can't be a great scorer so far, which he isn't, it's good that he's passing and getting his playmaking up, but that defense needs to come along as well. He needs to do, if he can't do the thing he's best at, he needs to do 2 other things that he's good at, in my opinion.
I agree with all that. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see how he kind of blends that stuff. I know he really wants to be great. I know it sounds like lip service, but the way he talks is similar to how some other guys talk about being really great, but the way he's coached and the way he tries to do things during games, I can tell he's implementing a lot of the stuff that he's being told to do, right? So that is an extra layer for him in his favor. And yeah, he's had some games like opening night, 18 points, got to the foul line 4 times. He had 6 free throw attempts against the Bulls. I can't remember what he finished with that game, 16 points, something like that, right? Where you're like, okay, this is sort of the Mathurin you remember.
We can work with this. We can work with this.
But then it's kind of waxed and waned in recent games. And some of his per game numbers are held down by barely playing in Boston because nobody played in Boston.
Yeah, exactly.
They got smoked.
Yeah, we sat out all of our guys in the second half because we knew there was no chance we were going to win.
Right. And he had an elbow injury, suffered in that Bulls game. So there's a couple important context things from a 7-game sample. But if I knew that his passing growth would come at this much change of his kind of core offensive skill, I still think you take that trade right now for growth, but eventually you have to slowly swing the pendulum back a little bit. So he's going to have to figure out where those shots are going to come from and how he can this is kind of how it's been described by the Pacers. This is my interpretation of at least what they're saying, right? He's really good at catching, sizing up his defender, making a move, right? He's got to be in the corner, come around a screen, and make all those decisions right before he catches the ball. So he can make those ISO moves within the flow of the offense and still make the passes and the reads that he's shown growth in making this season. So it's been a little interesting to see kind of the push and pull of his new skills versus what he used to be good at and his stats being totally different. You're right, Banchero, his scoring's down, his usage is down. Halliburton talked about how in his second season, he came in, he's like, I got this, I know all this stuff. And then he was worse right away. I think his first game of his second season, I think it was terrible. He said this. We were asking about Chris Duarte last year, and he was talking about it. I'll pull it up while I'm talking. So that's certainly part of it. Yeah, Tyrese Halliburton's first game as a second-year player, 1 for 5 from the field, 4 assists, 2 points. Right, so
2 points. Yeah.
So it's a thing that has been talked about, and so more time is needed here. It's a new lineup. He's playing against better players. But I think that there's just kind of a lot of push and pull going on that will slowly kind of merge together. But right now you're seeing they're pushing him. And I think this is right, but it is looking interesting in the numbers towards the get better at this stuff side early in the season.
Yeah. I mean, credit to the guy. He hasn't really complained that much. He hasn't really, he hasn't been very vocal. He is normally when he's not making outlandish claims about LeBron and everybody, he's pretty quiet. He's a pretty reserved guy, That was great. But he hasn't really went out and complained about his shot not falling or anything about the offense, because there's nothing to complain about right now. The offense is amazing. That's not something to complain about. And I know he's being really hard on himself right now, and I know that he is going to get better, because Mathurin at his best, I think he can very well be a 20-point per game scorer that can average like 4 to 5 assists a game, that can really be the perfect guy next to Tyrese Halliburton if that defense comes through, which, as we saw in the preseason, he was fantastic on defense. I think it can come through. We just need to give it some time. And with this Pacers team having the best offense in the NBA and only being 4-3, if we get that defense up to just league average, slightly below league average, will be great.
Hey, everybody, have to tell you about the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. It's PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. With basketball season here, you can pick combo projections across football and basketball from their specials league. For example, LeBron James plus Travis Kelce had a 10.5 combo of 3-pointers made plus receptions, or just single things in basketball alone or football alone, whatever you like. They've got it on PrizePicks. Stephen Curry, more than 29 points. Jokic for more than 10 rebounds. For example, that's how you play. It's that simple. It's an absolute blast. You've got to try it over on PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100 on PrizePicks. Again, super easy, super fun. You think Luka's going to score more than 32 points tonight or less? You can pick on PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA, LOCKEDONNBA, or use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100 at PrizePicks. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Look at you, the king of the transitions, because I do want to talk about that. The best offense in the NBA belongs to the Pacers. I surmise this could be the case, maybe not for a full season, but at times after their first game, which is, of course, boosting their offensive rating, scoring 143. That's not even their best offensive game. They also punked the Spurs on Monday to the tune of 152. Caveats abound. They played the Spurs and Wizards, who have the 2 worst defenses in the NBA this season, which certainly helps them on offense. But they're playing very well even against the good defenses they play. Putting up big numbers against the Cavs is very impressive. So the standout, a couple things stand out to me about their offense. I talked about this one early in the season, but their passing is just ridiculous. 32 assists per game, leads the league. That's crazy. And they're doing it, but very little turnovers. The 4th lowest turnover rate in the league, 6th fewest turnovers per game. So we can talk about their shot diet and all these players doing what they're doing in terms of shooting percentages. Like, they're not going to shoot 39% from 3 all year, but the way they're moving the ball feels very sustainable for a long-term approach to offense. And I think that's been really impressive.
Yeah. I mean, as a guy that's been watching the Pacers since 2011, 2012, and in the Paul George era, going to the early days of the Oladipo saga into 2019, 2020, I think 2019 to 2020 was probably the worst ball movement of any team I've ever seen. There was stagnation. There was nothing. Remember, that was a Nate McMillan offense, which, while McMillan was a great defensive coach, his offensive strategy was not up to par. And we saw that during the Miami playoff series, where there was no ball movement. All the guys were stationary. And the main offensive play was just sizing up the guy like 3-4 feet behind the 3-point line, taking 3 steps up and pulling up, which, if you're being guarded by a guy like Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, it's not going to work, you know? This year, though, we'll go ahead.
No, go. You got it.
All right. This year and last year, I've seen a completely different team. You know, I saw flashes of ball movement in 2021 with Bjorkgren. But this year, with Carlisle at the helm, when we first got him, I was kind of iffy because I didn't think we were going to rebuild or anything, because I know Carlisle is a winning coach, but he stayed with the team through the rebuild. This year has been some amazing, off the ball movement, screens. Of course, you know, when you have a guy like Buddy Hield on the team, that's going to happen. You're going to have some great off-ball movement. You're going to have some off-ball screens coming off of them. You know, flashes of Reggie Miller putting up the 3. You know, I saw when Buddy checked in the in-season tournament game against Cleveland, checked in, first thing he did was hit a 3. That shows you how well-oiled this offense is, to where anybody can check in at any time, and you could easily get them a bucket. You know, with Mathurin, we'll see that come through later on in the season, I believe. But Bruce Brown has been great, has had some really good nights. Halliburton, of course. Miles Turner, that catch and shoot three from the top of the key. I swear I've never seen him miss that. It's been fantastic. I think, and I don't even think this is the best case scenario. I think we can keep like a top 5 offense throughout the entire season, because what's stopping us when Mathurin gets that offensive group back and his scoring is back? Toppin gets accustomed to his surroundings. Jase and Ben start getting more comfortable. What's stopping us? I really don't know.
Yeah, the thing that has kind of stood out to me about them on offense, right? Last year, the Ty plus Buddy lineups were crazy, right?
Yeah.
119, 120 offensive rating, near the top of the league, couldn't stop them. And their chemistry was awesome. And then Aaron Nesmith said something at Media Day that stood out to me. I asked him about playing the 3, and that's not even what's happening anymore. He's not even playing the 3, but he was talking about what he was kind of working on to transition to more perimeter skills. And something he said was playing a little more like Buddy, right?
Right.
And so in my head, I was like, that's interesting, because he's not the level of a shooter. But if anybody on the Pacers, whether that's Mathurin, whether that's Nesmith, whether that's Bruce Brown at times, whether that's Nembhard, whoever's off the ball with Ty or with Drew, can just set that ghost screen, run, cause some pressure. Someone else is cutting, someone's coming up to set a screen, all this stuff going on. When those roles become more and more interchangeable because lots of guys are hitting shots and their offense is clicking and random and hard to read, that's when it doesn't matter if it's Ty plus Buddy. It can be a lot of combinations of guys as your primary plus wing that can make that work. And so, of course, Halliburton and Buddy Hield together have been awesome this year still, but they've gotten a lot more out of backcourt duos like that. And then you add in Bruce Brown from last year. Now they have a secondary creator in all their lineups where Buddy Hield's passing has been good. Bruce Brown's had a lot of games with 5-6 assists. All of a sudden, swing it to the weak side. There's no more not a good passer over there. Someone over there can make a move, make a play, flow right into something. So they just have like the right weapons and right skill sets for everybody to kind of contribute on that end. Again, I don't think they're going to shoot this hot all season, but I think the process of how they're getting the shots is really good. And that is something that, they can carry for a while and should be hard for other teams to even like adjust to. It's not like when they get game film, they'll just suddenly know how to defend the Pacers. It's just random and fast and hard to guard.
Nah, we call that the whoever offense. Whoever's hot, get them the ball, get them open, set a screen. They can't defend everybody at once. They double team one guy, other guy's going to be open. You can't account for everybody on the team, especially now with the starting lineup that we have. Everybody can shoot. That's what I love about having a guy like Miles Turner on the team, the big man that can shoot. I'm looking at this Pacers roster. I see like 2 guys that can't shoot. One of them being TJ McConnell and the other being Isaiah Jackson. And those guys aren't supposed to shoot. I'm looking at this roster. Jase showed some shooting flashes in preseason and in college. Shepard is, of course, knocked down. Nwora can shoot. Jalen has been, I think he's leading the league in 3-point percentage this year.
66.7. Yeah, he can't miss.
Yeah. Jalen, Tyrese, Andrew, Obi can shoot when he gets hot. Mathurin can be a good shooter. I do believe he can. Nesmith is a good shooter. Bruce, Buddy, Miles, everybody on this team can shoot. So it gets to a point where you could run like a 1 in 4 out, or like a 5 out offense where you just kept off ball screens, off ball movement. At a point, the defense is gonna get tired. You're gonna tire them out with all this off ball movement, and then you have all these high energy guys coming in off the bench that can also hit a 3. That's unstoppable. That shooting is what is gonna be key for this Pacers team to succeed. I don't think they can sustain this. I obviously think Jalen Smith is not going to shoot 66% for the rest of the year, which if he does, then we need to throw him a huge bag. But I don't think he can do that. I think he'll be around 37, 38%, better than last year, but around what he was in his first half season with the team.
They got six guys right now at 40% or better from deep.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And Hield and Halliburton, we know, can hold at that level. Turner was at or below 40 for much of last year, but he's not going to stay at 41. So the 2 guys that I'm curious about are Bruce Brown and Nesmith, who are both currently at exactly the same percentage. 45.2. Yep. Yeah. Nesmith was an awesome shooter in college and then has kind of rode the roller coaster in the NBA. Bruce Brown, has never shot at this volume or this percentage. I don't expect him to remain at this hot of a level either.
Yeah.
But where they settle in, I think is going to be kind of crucial to knowing where the Pacers offense ends up. Those three guys, really, if you include Turner. I think Smith's going to fall somewhat. And then the other part of this is Nembhard just made his first three of the season over the weekend. He's been really struggling. He's only at 22%.
Yes, he has.
And Mathurin will make more too. So that will balance somewhat. How much is certainly going to settle things in. The other interesting part of their offense is you look at the four factors, right? And they aren't even crushing it in all four. They're great in effective field goal percentage, and they never turn it over. That's an awesome duo. But they're not offensive rebounding that well, and they're never getting to the line. Fourth fewest free throw attempts per shot attempt in the league. Yeah. So, they have ways they can slightly improve, even if they start to miss a little bit. They are currently third in three-point percentage in the league and fourth in two-point percentage. If those numbers dip, but they can either hit the glass or get to the line a little more, all of a sudden it's man, this is maybe sustainable. So I really believe in what this team's doing on offense.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I don't think we're going to be at number one for the rest of the season, but I do think we're going to finish top five because we're number one right now. We're not even doing great at everything. Like you said, we're not getting to the line. And what was that other thing?
Not getting the line and not grabbing offensive rebounds.
Yeah, exactly. Once that comes through, because I think once Mathurin, starts being more aggressive and getting to the bucket more, starts drawing more free throws, and I think once the refs give Halliburton a little bit better of a whistle, which I do think he will get, I think this team is definitely going to finish top five because again, what's stopping them? If they're this good without being good in two of the four factors, they have a lot of ways to go. So even if they do fall down, even if they do turn the ball over more, even if they do miss more shots, hey, they're rebounding more and they're getting to the line. We'll see.
That's right. We'll see where it all settles in, but they know where they can get better, and they've got a good base. Hey, everybody, have to talk to you about the wonderful people over at FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Perfect time to hop in on the FanDuel action. The NHL back and rolling. The NBA, of course, is rolling and going strong. The NFL getting to the midway points. And right now, if you hop over to FanDuel, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's a great deal. If your team wins, that's $150. All you got to do is win that $5 money line bet. 150 smackaroos. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time than right now with sports coming at you from every direction to get in on the action. Their app is really easy to use. They have a wide range of betting options, including your faves, the over-unders, the player props, the spreads, and more. Whatever you like, they've got it. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn for all that deal. Remember, that's $150 if you win a $5 money line bet and kick off the NFL season over on FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. And they have a game tonight. Their fourth and sixth nights. And then tomorrow's their fifth and seventh nights. Crazy stretch here at home for the Pacers. The Utah Jazz in town featuring Mueez. My vote for the most underrated player in the NBA in Lauri Markkanen. 7-footer who can't miss. What are you watching for in this game?
I want to see how we contain Lauri. I really do.
Me too. They don't have a good option, I feel like.
No, exactly. And especially since Lauri, I'm looking at these stats, he's the only guy averaging over 15 a game for this team. He's really the only guy we need to be paying attention to really shut down on offense. And as you said, we don't have the best perimeter defense in the league. We gave up multiple 15-plus point games to the Boston Celtics. We let Karis LeVert have that first quarter against us. I remember in the first quarter, that Wizards game, it was Gallinari and Tyus Jones that were having great games against us. So we really need that help on the perimeter. And for a guy like Lauri, I do think we can't do much to stop him. I think he's going to get his. I think Lowry's going to get his. But the main thing is, who else is going to step up on that team? Because I feel like every time the Pacers play a team, there's always that one bench guy. There's always that one role player that has a fantastic game. And I'm looking at this team. I think it's going to be Jordan Clarkson. I think Jordan Clarkson is going to have like a 20-plus point game. And I think he's going to be like I think he's going to give us the most trouble. Lowry, we kind of expect that from him. But Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench, or he's starting this year, actually. Jordan Clarkson, I think is going to give like Nesmith or Mathurin especially fits off the ball because he's a great ISO scorer. And, he can also move off the ball. So I think that's going to be tough for the Pacers to contain.
Yeah, Clarkson's had a really tough year. Like a lot of the Jazz struggles point at him because he's shooting really poorly and he's turning it over a ton. They're turning it over more than any team in the league, right? Yeah. So that's something I would point to for the Pacers is important. If they want to run, they can turn the Utah over as much as other teams have, right? Oh, almost 4 a game for Clarkson, over 2 a game for Horton Tucker and Sexton, right? That's going to be a way for the Pacers to kind of
and Clarkson, I believe, is shooting like under 35% for the field, isn't he?
Yeah, he's had a horrible start so far.
Yeah.
And they just aren't like Markkanen is an amazing shooter from everywhere, but they're not like outside of him a team that I consider that threatening from deep. They have a lot of decent shooters, but not like a ton of pressure guys. So their spacing's a little weird. So it's just a little tougher for their offense to really get going. I'll be curious if they can break out of that, but they also are kind of squeezing in a lot of young guys to their established mix that they already had. So maybe this is kind of a bridge year for them. It's too early to tell, but they've been struggling, right? They have the 4th worst net rating in the league. They're 2-6 after a really fun year last year. I thought the Jazz might be pretty good this season. So the big question for me is going to be who guards Lowry, right? Because they start all 3 of Kessler, Markkanen, and Collins. Mm-hmm. And so if you just put Turner on Kessler to keep him on the rim and guard pick and rolls, that means Toppin's on one of the big guys between Markkanen and Collins, and then probably Ben Mathurin's on the other one, and that's a lot of
No,
it's gotta be.
No,
you can't put Bruce Brown on him.
Neesmith. I think Neesmith is the guy.
But I just of the starters, you gotta do something.
Oh yeah, true.
So I would imagine maybe Bruce Brown gets the John Collins assignment. They're a trick that this matchup will be very tricky and revealing for the Pacers on how they want to do these big lineups like that.
Yes, because especially now, because the Pacers aren't running that 2 big man lineup anymore with Sabonis and Miles. They're not running that lineup anymore. So I feel like now it's really going to come down to who they have guarding the other team's bigs, because they have like you said Brown is going to probably guard John Collins.
Maybe that would be one way to do it to me.
Yeah, because I think Brown is decent at guarding big guys for his size. He's only like 6'4". I feel like he was doing an okay job on, I believe it was Mobley. He was doing a decent job on Mobley. I think he was doing better than Miles did.
John Collins isn't heavy either, so maybe you can get away with that.
Exactly. He definitely can. I guess Mathurin would have to be put on Markkanen, but I guess I'm not that concerned about that, because I think Markkanen's going to have a great night anyway. I don't think there's a way for this team on defense to stop Markkanen. I think if we did start Neesmith, force some extra defense, he would be good on Markkanen, because he's decent at guarding big guys, because he's so sturdy and really tough and really got a lot of hustle. Goes for the loose balls, goes for the blocks, goes for the steals. I think he would be a good defensive assignment. But I think the best you can do is Mathurin. But this game, I guess it's going to be a great challenge for Mathurin, because he has been struggling defensively. We'll see how he does on defense against a guy that's been, fantastic this year. And it's going to be a great challenge for the Pacers as well. Coming off that 41-point win where they tied the team record in points against San Antonio, can they keep that going with a day of rest? Can they keep that momentum going? Because after that, they got Milwaukee. And that's Giannis, Dame, and Middleton. They cannot afford to slouch on defense in that game at all.
They get Milwaukee, Philly as their next 3 after this Utah game.
Yeah, that's tough. What up?
The big win to bank if you can get it, right? Get 2 games over 500 before that stretch. Have some confidence. That'd be nice. They could use it.
Exactly. Like, I'm anticipating we lose one of the Philly games, and we probably will, and I think we will lose the Milwaukee game. The Philly games are tough because Joel Embiid always has a great game against us. It's always Embiid, and that's one of the guys that Miles
really struggles with him.
Yeah, that's one of the guys that Miles has struggles against ever since 2018, 2017. So I think Embiid is going to get his. Because they don't have Harden anymore. They got Maxey. We're gonna see who guards Maxey, if it's gonna be Halliburton or Mathurin or Bruce Brown or who. But I think after this Jazz game, which hopefully they can get a win in, we need a win in this Jazz game, because if we can't beat the Jazz after beating the Spurs by 41 points, it's gonna be pretty rough going into these 3 games. They could easily be losses.
It is. It'll be interesting. It's really hard for a team to beat a team twice in a row in the same building. So Pacers going to do their best to split with the Sixers. We'll see what they can do against Utah tonight. Mueez, thank you very much for the time. New guest. We love to see it here on Locked On Pacers. Where can people find you and your work talking and covering?
All right. So you see my, I believe my Twitter username is down there. I believe I'm pointing at it right now.
If you're listening and not on YouTube, he is pointing at it on the screen.
Yes. Yeah. It's Gametron PTW, Kamitron PTW. You can also catch me on YouTube under the house that Cammy built. I'm going to start posting there more. Hopefully some basketball Pacers related things. Also, you can also catch my articles on Fansided, 8 points, 9 seconds. My name is right there, Mueez Azfar. I just released 2 pieces. If this is the day that the Jazz game, I just released a piece about Daniel Tice. And yesterday, I released 2 pieces about the win over the Spurs. I'm trying to crank out as many pieces as I can. Trying to, the NBA season is back. I'm trying to go into overdrive, It's time.
We love that. We love that. We'll be back tomorrow talking Pacers, Jazz, looking a little bit ahead at the Bucks. The Pacers kryptonite over the years, but man, the Bucks do not look as good as I thought they might this year. A little wobbly. We will see what to expect come Thursday. We'll have it all here on the Locked On Pacers podcast. Mueez, thank you so much for the time. Everybody, hope you enjoyed. We'll see you soon.
Appreciate y'all, man. Take care.